Hi, I'm Christopher Sabat, and I'm the voice of Vegeta and Piccolo. I was also the voice director here for Dragonball Super Broly.
My name is Ian Sinclair. I am the voice actor for Whis, and I have been Whis since Battle of Gods.
I'm Jason Douglas, and I play Beerus the Destroyer and King Cold.
My name is Rial, and I play Bulma, and I've been playing Bulma for 10 years now.
Hi, my name is Sean Schemmel, and I will be voicing Goku in the new Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, as well as Gogeta and a couple others.
Dragon Ball Super differs in that Akira Toriyama definitely had a hand in this. It was interesting because it started as a retelling of the two first features and then kind of went off on its own. It isn't just like fully focused on fighting. You get to learn more about Vegeta as a family man. You get to learn more about Goku as just an idiot. I feel like Akira Toriyama is aware of the fandom and aware of how people feel about certain characters. And he's playing a lot into those tropes and stereotypes for all those characters. Everyone's almost a heightened version of themselves, and you get to see a lot of their character in Super in ways that you didn't get to in the other series.
The way I interpret Dragon Ball Super is it's the very best parts of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z stuck together with pacing that's more palatable to, I think, other countries. You got some really cool fighting, new characters, new power-ups, but you got a lot of really good fun comedy and family moments, which, you know, Dragon Ball had a lot of comedy and a lot of family stuff going on in it, which is why Dragon Ball Super is my favorite series.
Super just has a ton of heart. I love the storytelling. I just think it's a terrific next step for the franchise and just the evolution of where the series has come from, you know, the early days to now. I think it's such a sophisticated show on so many levels, and I watch it with my kids, and I'm enjoying it, and they're digging it, so it's like hitting on all the levels. It's terrific.
I love the storytelling. It's always something new. They take thoughts and ideas that were great in Z and then kind of expound on them and make them even bigger and better. And I also love that the relationships between the characters, they get so much stronger and you really start rooting for your favorites. I think what's really interesting about Broly is the dynamic with his father. Here's this character that you really should hate. He's so angry and violent towards the Saiyans. If we hadn't seen this backstory between him and his father, if you just saw this big guy coming at your heroes, you'd be so incredibly angry. But then you learn about his backstory and what's going on behind the scenes, and your heart kind of breaks for him. You know, you can't help but feel bad for him.
Broly is the little Saiyan boy who could. He is the one who had more power as a baby than, well, as far as the Scouters said.
Broly is fascinating. I mean, he seems like potentially the most powerful Saiyan that we've encountered.
This film did a really good job of making him feel like vulnerable and likable. There's still this huge mystery about Broly, though, how he got to be so strong, why he's so strong, and I think a lot of people like that too.
I think the issue with Broly is just, how do you rein in? He hasn't been raised to be terribly sophisticated. He is just a bundle of raw energy. In many ways, he shares a lot of characteristics, you know, with Goku in terms of just this power that seems to continue to be untapped, but he seems to have access to more of it. And it's just a question of focusing it and who's going to control it, and can he control it? Does he need someone to rein him in?
He's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and the hard place might be his power, and the rock would be everything else, you know, the collar around his neck, his dad being marooned on this crappy planet, you know, and then at the end of the movie, Goku's all like, hey, I heard your plan sucks. Here's some stuff. As long as you let me fight sometime, I'll give you some stuff. And Broly's like, oh yeah, fighting for stuff, yeah. This could be a really good relationship.
I think Broly will fit in with the rest of the cast in the sense of this is another Saiyan with untold powers that Goku is going to, of course, just glom onto and want to train with. But he's someone who doesn't have these malicious intents. So he's going to be able to train, find out who he is, and grow stronger through his time with Goku, spending his time around other Saiyans, not just his father, who had laid out exactly what he had to be. And through that, he will help grow the Saiyan.
Maybe by meeting somebody like Broly, who is just strong. He hasn't actually trained to become that way other than with his father on that planet, but he's never actually set out to be the strongest. He just kind of was by happenstance. I feel like if Goku meets somebody like that, maybe it'll lessen his desire. Maybe he'll realize that I don't have to try so hard all the time. And then again, maybe it'll just make him want to go out there and fight more because now he's got a sparring buddy, a new one, who's even stronger than my husband, which is great because maybe he'll come home more and do the dishes, stuff like that.
Broly seems to have no motivation. Like, part of what happened to him is that I guess his rage, it's a very common theme among Dragon Ball, that Saiyan rage is what causes them to become so powerful. And he's just filled with it. Like, his dad must have injected a lot of rage into him from a very early age, and so I guess all that just culminated into something really powerful.
I don't even know if Goku wants to be the strongest as much as he likes fighting the strongest to get stronger. I mean, I was nitpicking a line either in the movie or the episode where it's like, Goku says something, I think my powers have reached their peak. I go, does Goku see his powers as ever having a peak, ever? Doesn't he always believe that he can always get stronger, there's no limit? That would be odd to Goku to think, no, I'm as good as I can get, I can tell. You know, he knows when he's at a certain level and he has to do something more to get more powerful, but I don't know that Goku would ever, just resign himself to thinking he was done. It doesn't seem to be consistent with his character. We set up a dynamic where the student becomes the master, and so Broly needs a proper mentor, a proper trainer, a proper father, and Goku could be that. And I would love to see, I've always wanted Goku to still fight, but take on the role of the guy they seek out to train them.
When Goku mentions at the end of the film, like, hey, I just want you guys to be safe. I'm bringing you all these supplies. I just want to be able to come train with him every now and then. And I also have some things I want to teach him, too. And I thought that was pretty poignant because I hope that Goku can actually teach Broly a little bit more about being a human, sort of, or being alive, because at this point, Broly's just been kind of confused.
I think one of the most fascinating angles in this film is the parent-child relationship and the idea of how these characters, and all of us really, are products of how we're raised and who raised us and under what circumstances. It's easy in some ways to imagine a Broly that's more of a champion, that is more sophisticated, that has something specific that he knows he's fighting for, but he wasn't raised that way. He was raised in a very desperate kind of circumstance by a father who was as interested in probably seeking vengeance as just keeping himself and his son alive.
There's no denying that we are shaped. Our basic worldview comes to us from our parents. They're the people that give us the information we need to learn and grow. So of course, that's kind of where you start and blossom, is whatever the seeds that your parents plant in you. That can be a good thing, or it can be a bad thing, as we've seen in the film. But as it relates to Super, there are some really great familial relationships, like between parents and children. So Goku might not be the best dad, but certainly Piccolo will step in and do whatever he needs to do to kind of fill that void. However, if you go over to my personal family, Vegeta has proven, especially in Super, to actually be a pretty good dad. But I really think that that's one of the things about Super that's so wonderful, is to see the relationships blossom and bloom. And those are not only just relationships as a whole, but the relationships between these parents and these children.
I think that the parent-child dynamic is all over this movie. I think you get to see 3 different types of parenting and how they play out. You get to see Goku's parents, who just want to send their child off to become who he wants to be, find out who he is, live and survive. That turns into a very free adult once he grows up, who is able to live for his own goals and to strive for his own dreams. Vegeta was raised by his father. King Vegeta had planned out the entirety of Vegeta's life. He knew that his son was going to be the strongest. He was going to be trained to be the strongest. Then Vegeta would become king. And that's the life that he was told. And so he had ideas forced upon him by his parents. What that resulted in is a man who is enraged by the reality of the world because it isn't what his father told him it was going to be. And then some farm boy comes around and smacks him up. And so he's having to deal with that because he's been led his whole life to believe that he is going to be a king. So that's what that kind of parenting results in, where you force those kids to live your dreams. And then you have the third, which is the even further extreme of that, which is, I am going to micromanage and you will be what I say, you will be this, and you don't have a choice. When he starts playing with his dog, the father says, no, you have to be what I say. And that results in a giant hulking freakout.
You could tell that Broly didn't have a father more than, all he really had was just an angry, bitter person. And it's kind of a shame, too, because Paragus clearly felt for his son. Paragus abandoned the Saiyans stole a spaceship and flew after his son. So his intentions were good. He was just so hell-bent on revenge that he clearly just raised Broly to be a fighter. That's all Broly is.
It's interesting to see Paragas's pridefulness destroy his child when he could have just let it go and focused on raising his child, because he has so much ego and pride. There's a lot of ego pride themes with parenting and transmitting that to your son. Parents all struggle with, wanting what you want for your kid versus what they really want, because they're a separate entity from you, and you think you know what's best for them, and most of the time maybe you do, but maybe you don't.
What's unfortunate, though, is while those parents are planting those seeds, sometimes the parents don't always have the best intentions, or maybe they have the best intentions, but it's not good for the child. So what we see in this film is a parent who thinks he has the best intentions for his child. He's trying his best to bring up his son in the way that he sees fit on this planet in the middle of nowhere. But then we're seeing how that adversely affects Broly, because as a person, as a Saiyan, he's just constantly broken down. He's not able to act on his own. He's not able to make his own choices. His voice isn't being heard because his father is so protective. And I think maybe that's a message that a lot of parents need to see, and maybe some kids need to see, is that sometimes people have the best intentions and they just don't always work out for the best.
Something that's important to remember about this film is that this is post Dragon Ball Super Vegeta and Goku. This is Dragon Ball Z Goku and Vegeta who've seen tons of enemies. Even Goku mentions this in the film to Broly, where he says, "We've seen a ton of enemies, but I don't think you're one of them." They handle things with a lot more patience than they used to. It was interesting when Vegeta walks into the fight, immediately he's like, "What's going on? This guy's super strong." And then old school Vegeta would have been ready to just charge in and beat the guy up and call it a day and destroy him. And this Vegeta's very tempered by comparison. He and Goku clearly look at him and go like, wow, this guy's pretty strong. Vegeta's not arguing with Goku when he's saying, we just want to chill. We don't want to fight anybody. We're cool. So as the fight goes on, you see him not only fight Broly, but they're about to finish Broly until Broly's wish to back to his home planet.
I think what's fascinating is that, like, now that Broly's been introduced in kind of a big way, he's in it. He's part of this universe now. Even if he isn't present, we're constantly going to be thinking how to get him back, because, obviously Vegeta and Goku aren't done, and there are going to be greater threats that they have to face. And at some point, I think we're going to be wondering, is it time to bring Broly back in as he kind of continues to mature with his new friends? Is he becoming more civilized? Is his power becoming more focused? I would love to see Beerus and Broly rumble. That would be fascinating, because I think he would be, again, Broly is simply less predictable than other characters and other adversaries. His goals aren't as clear, and I just think that gives him so much potential. Plus his power, I think we just don't know yet what he can be and what he can truly do. Beerus says, bring on Broly.
My big prediction and hope is that at some point, Vegeta finds out that Lord Beerus is part of the reason why Planet Vegeta was blown up. You see them blow it up in the movie, but there have been hints that Beerus had part to do with that. And if that's true, then I imagine Vegeta losing it and going after Beerus. Because if my Bulma Vegeta was able to put Beerus on the ropes with Super Saiyan 2, pre-Whis training, I think you took my planet away from me, and my ability to be a king away from me, Vegeta, may really have a shot at taking out Beerus.
These guys surprise me every time, man. Every time they do one of these films, I'm always like, what? They brought Frieza back? And it was amazing. And I was like, what? They're bringing Broly back? And it's amazing. This was one hell of an interesting fight. Like, they just went bonkers on the animation. As an actor, it was a little tricky to do some of the reactions because the fighting was so detailed. A lot of the times you kind of see what's happening and just sort of react to picture as it goes along. In this particular case, we had to stop, slow down, and really focus on what the heck is happening. If you get a chance, I mean, you own the DVD now, you can slow down and watch how detailed all of these moves are. It's not just kind of cutting in some blurry animation, they fly off. It's all really, really beautifully crafted.
When I sat down to watch the movie, I wasn't expecting to be impacted the way that I was. The story with Broly and his father and just that whole relationship and what comes about it, I mean, it's so heartfelt, and you just want to hug him. He's just this big, oafish dude that's not trying to hurt anybody. He's just trying to protect who he loves. And really, honestly, it was just heartbreaking. And you know, I remember that a lot of people saying, you know, from the Japanese side saying, this movie's going to make you cry. It's going to make you cry. Be prepared. And of course, everybody's speculation was, oh, somebody's gonna die. That's what's gonna happen. And I watched the movie and I'm like, I get it. I get why people are gonna cry. Of course you're gonna cry. That poor man. Why does he have to go through all of this? But I think it's brilliant storytelling. The fights are ridiculous. They're so awesome.
The best thing about directing this film was I actually liked some of the newer characters that popped in. I loved Chilai, I liked Limo. One of my favorite things about the film was this hysterical comparison that they were clearly trying to make between Frieza's selfish wish for the Dragon Balls and Bulma's selfish wish for the Dragon Balls, and how they literally were completely paralleled in the film. And so it's funny to me that they hated Frieza taking those Dragon Balls so much, yet Bulma's pretty much using the Dragon Balls for her own specific gain. She may not be wanting to destroy the universe, but in this particular case, neither is Frieza. Frieza just wants to be 5 centimeters taller. I kind of felt like they should just give Frieza that one. Just like, wait, what is it you want to, oh, okay. You can do that. You can do that, that's fine.
I love the fact that we have an adversary that has enough backstory and richness in his character that we care about him. We care about the outcome. We're actually kind of rooting for him, I think, in many ways, to overcome this situation. I think as, you know, humanity, our hearts go out to somebody like that. So we want to see him find sort of rescue and redemption from his situation. So I think it's a great story. I think it's so well done. And I was, you know, just watching through it, I was just captivated by it.